So I decided to give a tour of my costume just so that people can see a close-up of the details and what I used and how I used it and so on and so forth. I'll start with the legs and I'll do a separate video for the shirt and the scissor hands and maybe the makeup too. So to start with the shoes, I started with a cloth house slipper that I got for cheap. And the reason for that is that it has a built-in sole, but the edges are soft material that I can sew onto. I've also used these for Prince Philip and also Peter Pan. This first shoe is actually two shoes I got at the thrift store and repurposed into one. They were women's boots. It's a fake suede material. The second shoe is actually two pieces of material that I used elsewhere on the costume with some added hardware and detailing. And this one has a spat, and I added all these buttons on the side, which are in fact not buttons, but what I did use is upholstery tacks I got at Home Depot and just snipped off the tack part and glued them onto the spat. It does annoy me though because as you can see it goes all the way down, but really at this point the buttons would be on the other side, which drives me crazy. And this leg also has a handle sticking out the side. This is just one I got at Home Depot and distressed a little bit, and I added a garter on the inside to sort of keep it upright and not flopping around. And back to this leg. As you can see, this shoe is not connected to the rest of the quote-unquote boot. He's got lots of belts which are attached with snaps so that I wouldn't have to buckle all of those belts every time. Not to mention the fact that the buckles I needed were horizontal and I needed them to be vertical. They are fake and just connected with snaps. Those were just small belts I picked up at the thrift store. This one in particular is a handbag strap, also from the thrift store, that I repurposed elsewhere on the costume. The whole upper part of this quote-unquote boot is also connected with snaps to my leg because there was an issue with it constantly wanting to work its way down my calf. So the material for my left leg, for the movie I believe they probably used a motorcycle material for motorcycle pants and jackets, but I don't know where to buy that, nor could I probably afford it, so I had to make my own. I bought a material and then sewed all of these ribs into it. It's also the same material I used for the left foot. Just more belts from the thrift store. This one came with grommets already in it, luckily, so I didn't have to add all of those. This is more, I can't remember if it's upholstery tacks or scrapbooking tacks, but either way, I snipped them off and glued them on it once again. This one came with stitching already on it, which is not a detail in the movie, but who really cares? And then obviously I added these eyelets or grommets. I don't know which one's correct, but this buckle came with the belt, luckily, which was perfect. These are buckles that I added that are not real, as you can see, once again because I needed them to be vertical and not horizontal, and also I didn't want to strap them every time. This is a little detail on the left leg that it's one of my favorite details. These are shoelaces from the same boots that I repurposed for my right shoe. It's the same material on the inside that I used, but I added some dental floss stitching that I then painted yellow. And then he's got these sort of straps like a wallet chain that go along the side. And those I just used strips of material, the same material I used for my pant leg and elsewhere, held together with these scrapbooking tacks. This swatch of fabric is actually probably my favorite on the whole costume. It came in a sort of sewn together pattern that was stretchy, and I had to seam rip that all out so that it's flat, and it's really beautiful, stretchy, leather-like material. More scrapbooking tacks and hardware, random screws and bolts, more tacks, more shoelaces from the boots down below. Just go into a close-up shot of my crotch here. This panel here is actually repurposed from a handbag, same one that I used for one of the boot straps. And it is the only piece of actual leather on my costume. And it was horrible to work with. I don't know if leather is normally that bad, but it was not easy to sew. Along with more scraps of pleather and vinyl used elsewhere on the costume. Sorry for the camera work, it's hard to record one's own butt. But as you can see, the codpiece just sort of wraps around to the backside, more strips of belts, more tacks, more bolts, where the wallet chain connects in the back. The back of Edward's pants also have this sort of accordion hinge, I don't know what else to call it, that I could not find anywhere, nor would it be very practical when it comes to sitting down or walking. So what I did was use one of these scrunchy hair thingies and just painted it and sewed it to the back of my pants. And in the end, it's all connected with a piece of Velcro and a belt that I sewed into the top of the pants, which is all very rudimentary looking, but it's covered up by the shirt, so I didn't really care. Pants would want to work their way down, and I was having to cinch the belt so tight that it was extremely uncomfortable. So I added suspenders, and they work great. So for all the people that seem to just be dying to know how I use the bathroom, the answer is like anyone else wearing normal pants. And I think that's it for the pants. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them.